Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. So this is one of the quite interesting chapter that we are discussing, the economic philosophy of Imam al-Ghazali. So this is where we discussed his life and time, his background, and then most importantly, his views, his philosophical views on economic and activities. So we talked about the three groups. The three groups, those are the economic agents. And then we also talked that, according to Imam al-Ghazali, acquiring knowledge in economic activities is actually wajib, right? According to Imam al-Ghazali, he also says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided the resources, and this resources actually he provided for the benefit of mankind, but the mankind they have to work to earn them. They have to do something to earn them. This is where we talk about the mutual transaction. You talk about the mutual exchanging. So you have something, I have something, so I give you this and you give me that. So this is what we are actually exchanging, the core values, because I think this is the valuable property and you think that is the valuable property, so let us exchange. So it comes under a system of barter exchange or anything that today we do, but you need to earn them. All right. At the same time, these economic pursuits also should be free from the dependence on others. Right. And then also these economic pursuits, whether it is accumulation of wealth and pride, all these things must be Islamically permitted and also desirable. Something that it's not made, it cannot be made in the illegal way. So in a nutshell, you actually can agree with Imam al-Ghazali that you actually cannot obtain any illegal or prohibited properties. You actually not allowed to sell or buy any prohibited. For example, if there is a there is a property that is prohibited to consume, which means it is also prohibited to sell. For example, if alcohol is prohibited to consume, can I sell alcohol to a non-Muslim? The answer is no, because the reason Sharia is actually made it a non-valuable property. So I think if you remember the fiqh, you understood this, that all these prohibited properties, whether it is alcohol or the meat, those things, all those things are, according to Sharia, it is a non-valuable property, even though it is valuable to among the non-Muslims. But as a Muslim, we cannot deal, whether we cannot consume, we cannot also trade or deal with someone. All right, that's not actually Islamically permitted. It is not Islamically desirable, right? Okay, now when Imam al-Ghazali talks about the trade, because he brings the trade as a, of course, as a tool to exchange the core values. Because I have something, you have something, let us do the trading. So when it comes to trade, Imam al-Ghazali analyzed three elements. What we some time ago we discussed three pillars of transaction. If you remember, the three pillars, the true transaction parties, seller and buyer, and also the item of exchange, the subject matter, or the goods or services. Number three is the expression. So in a way, we taught you earlier in the fiqh for economist one, say the three pillars of contract. We started with expression. Number two, parties. Number three, the subject and object matter. He also brings, when it comes to items of exchange. You know, the number three that I told you is now. The number three is the subject matter and object matter. When it comes to that particular property, he brings us 6 conditions. He says that the first, the item must be pure, must be pure and clean and pure item, such as dog, pig, alcohol, and so on, cannot be sold. Number 2, he says that something that you are selling is actually must be something useful and beneficial, right? So for example, you know, some sort of things called snakes, rats, and these kind of things not lawfully cannot be sold, exchanged. You can relevant today what we have, something that is not relevant to sell, can come under this. Something must be that useful and beneficial. Number 3, you should be the owner of the item. Now, this is another thing, you know, some of us, I think, usually ask this: is it possible for me to post something in my website that I don't have um, the an example can be given. Let's say you are promoting something that is available in Shopee, for example, in any online market, but you don't have it, but you are simply uh, promoting, or you're not even promoter because you don't uh, get paid for the promotion. But in your website, in your WhatsApp, it shows that, okay, I have this product. But basically speaking, you are not the owner of the product. If any of your customer ask you, any of customer that said, okay, I want this, then you will initiate buying from the online market, and then you will give it. So this is something what Imam al-Ghazali says: you cannot sell something that you are not the owner of the item. Okay, you cannot do that. Number 4, the item of sale must be transferable. It is not that something that cannot transfer. It has to be, the ownership must be transferred, right? Because something transferable. Meaning to say that, let's say if someone is selling something like, you know, fish in the water, or um, you know, the birds in the sky, you know, something like that. Similarly, you can relevantize today what they are saying, what they are doing. That kind of thing cannot be sold. The 5th item must be known with certainty, which means that what is the quality of the item, what is the quantity of the item, it must be known. You know, someone like there are some TV shows showing that, you know, you can go and buy, you can pay $100 so you can get the box. So whatever inside the box, it's for you. If it is not, you are unlucky. So now it is not about lucky or being lucky and unlucky. You have to be at least a person with sense. You know, if you really think that the money is important and it's not easy money, it's not easy money, then if I think it is not easy money, I won't spend my money like that. I want to know what is inside the box, then I will pay my money. But it's a kind of TV shows people are doing. And this is actually to me is like a nonsense. You know, sometimes you see, I can get this, I can get that, but why you are buying something which you don't know what is inside, right? So it is a gambling. It is a kind of gambling. That's why the gambling is haram. So this is number 5. Number 6 is actually according to Imam Ghazali, the item sale must be in the possession of the seller. Oh, this is something also again. This is again strengthening number 3. You should be the owner of the item. Here again, the 6th, the item of sale must be in the possession of the seller, right? It has to be in your possession. So that's very important. Yeah. So these are the sales. So like I told you, Imam al-Ghazali, you know, when he talks about um, selling, he says that, okay, you will have to make sure that you cannot sell something prohibited. You cannot sell something prohibited. At the same time, you cannot also sell something which is actually permitted. Okay. But you cannot sell it in prohibited way. For example, through gambling or through gharar or through the avoid I mean prohibited transactions. For example, interest involved. Even though you are selling the chicken, uh, you are selling the house, you are selling the car, but you are using the contract of interest. The riba comes in, which is actually also prohibited. Okay, and then after you earn, again after you earn, there are some restrictions. Once you earn something, you have it in your capacity, you are holding it, you need to make sure that you are using it properly. You are not using it in uh, not permitted way, in a prohibited way, meaning to say that you cannot spend too much, you cannot waste it, you cannot spoil it, right? So these are the things. Even though it is your own property, you are not allowed to waste. Yeah. So this is all actually together with the philosophy of economic activities. This is also the real what Imam al-Ghazali trying to say according to the arkan, and also the shurut, the conditions of the subject matter. These are the items, 6 conditions for mabi'. Okay, so and then he also talks about the social cost and oppressions. Um, this is again something very important. When it comes to economic activities, there is a chapter prescribed. I mean, especially he wrote a chapter by the name of Kitab في بيان العدل واجتناب الظلم في المعاملات. So here he talks about uh, you know um, you need to avoid those injustice when you are actually selling something. اجتناب الظلم, avoiding the injustice in transaction. So here he talks about, I think, two or couple of social cost and oppression. This is of course related to the market, related to the prices and the profits. The first, there are two categories. That first of all, he says that justice requires an economic agent to refrain from activities of zulum, activities of injustice, whereby he can divide into two categories. The first category is actually uh, causing harm to the public in general. All right. The second part is actually causing harm to the particular party. For example, causing, you can do certain transactions, economic activities. By that, of course, your party is not actually getting any harm from you. But once you do that, socially speaking, publicly speaking, everybody getting harm. For example, a company or an industry with pollution. For example, the uh, carbon emitting gas, or industry, whatever it is, comes with that kind of thing. So when you buy and then it cause the public harm, the birds, the forest, and then the children around, and then the river, for example, you buy something and then you pollute. So this is all comes under the social, and in generally speaking, it's a public harm. The second one is actually you are buying something or you are selling something, but you directly harming the buyer or seller directly. Okay, so the general social harm is quite important. So let us talk about this social harm. So what are the examples that can be given? There is one example is actually what Imam al-Ghazali talk about, the hoarding. Even though it looks like you are doing it in a legal way, you are actually buying something and you are keeping it, you are storing it. This is what we call hoarding, because the reason why you are storing it, because you want to keep it until the demand increase. When the demand increases, and then you want to supply at the higher cost. So this is what today we call it business. This is something actually causing harm to the public. So he against of this hoarding. And another kind of social harm that Imam al-Ghazali talks about, he talks about the counterfeit money. This is the concept. This is a discussion. He talks a lot about this. But let me tell you, during his time, of course, the time is different now. During his time, this is something uh, a significant discussion, because counterfeit money was there. It was actually a kind of business. What I mean by that, during his time there was many coins, and then every coin has different metals inside. And then even the empire, I mean the government of certain places, they used to um, they used to demonetize. This is where we have problem, demonetization. If you remember, a few years back in India, suddenly that they demonetized 500s and 1000s note. Then people were in street, looking for the alternatives. So it happens when, but okay, during Imam al-Ghazali time, it was quite happening. It was like, sometimes a new king comes, new governor comes, and then he introduced the new metal, the new stamp, or new, the new print in the metal, which means that he wanted to take back the old one, and then after some times he will reintroduce the old one, and then it's like people hoarding the commodity. This is also another way of hoarding the money itself, the metals. Similar to dinar and dirhams, they have so many other metals. They used to keep it, and then when they say, okay, we have demonetized this metal, so now come and return all your metals that you have, and then give it back to the government and bring and or get replaced by the new metal. So it's like what Uncle Sam did in US. The gold, they say, okay, they want to demonetize the gold, so come bring gold, and then take the money, take the US dollar. This is how they started acquiring the gold. If you understand the history of money, another big discussion. So this is the kind of things were happening. So he was strictly against to this counterfeit money. He also, because there were so many fake money as well. Fake money comes. Um, that's why, according to him, knowledge of money, the monetary knowledge, the money, and the exchange rate of the money. This knowledge is, according to Imam al-Ghazali's wajib, right? So he talks about how to deal with the counterfeit money. He not only says against of counterfeit money, he also gives several ways how do you deal with it. So first, he says that if someone happens to receive forged money, the counterfeit money, if there is money that is a fake or duplicate, then he must throw it into the water. This is what the first thing that he says. Throw into the water. Do not actually transfer to someone, not even to your enemies. Don't even transfer to your enemies, because later the same money will come back to you. So it is because most of the time, we think that let's say all of a sudden I came to realize that my 50 ringgit note is actually fake money. What exactly I will be thinking to do? This is because it is my money. For me, according to my own justification, I see like, okay, this is my money. I earned it. This is halal money, and I didn't do something wrong to get this 50 ringgit. This is my halal money, but somehow this fake currency came to me, and I don't know from where I got it, because all of a sudden you have money in your pocket, and after 1 week or 2 weeks you came to realize that this 50 ringgit note is actually fake money. So, and you don't know where did you get this. and you have no idea how to return back to who gave it to you. So now your thought is actually going like this: okay, this is my money and this is halal money because I didn't do any stealing. So what exactly will you do? So if someone thinks that this is my halal money, so I didn't do any mistakes, someone gave it to me. So most of the time, it's like back in there what they say, okay, I brought my it's like, what they say back in India those days. I brought my slipper shoes to the masjid, but when I come back, my shoes are gone. So now, how am I supposed to go home without my shoe, without my slipper? So what I do, okay, someone took my slipper, so let me take somebody's slipper. So, so the question is, what is the difference between me and the person who stole my slipper, right? So because I say this is my slipper, my own money. I mean, I bought it, my own money, halal money, but someone took it. So why should I go to my home without my slipper? So let me take another slipper, random slipper, and then I go. So this is kind of justification used to be given sometimes ago, but later the ulama also said this is wrong. So now the good practice is actually, okay, someone stole your slipper. It doesn't mean that you actually can steal somebody's, which means that will make you a stealer, a thief. So what you should do, you go with your bare leg, and then you go and you buy another one. So here, this is the consequences here. So now what you will do when you have that 50 ringgit with you, what exactly will you do? So according to Imam al-Ghazali, throw that money. Don't use it, don't give it to somebody, because don't go and change. Can I, because sometimes we have this money, I say, okay, can I get the change? And then you want to give it to someone who doesn't see the quality of the money. Okay, now they see land. When you give $100, they always check, right? Is a line inside or not, right? If you take 100, usually they check now, because counterfeit, the fake money is there. So now, according to Ghazali, don't use it in the market, because it will go around. Everybody will use it, so you become part of it. So for you, it is better for you to lose the 50 ringgit for the sake of Allah, because this is where I can actually show how pure I am. I throw that money. The second way that he say how you deal with that money, the knowledge of money is wajib. This is the second thing he says. The third things that he says that, if one can identify the forged money, if I can identify the forged money and I still accept it, so according to Imam al-Ghazali, I'm the sinner. I'm committing the crime, right? The fourth point that he says, if someone receive forged money, better when he destroy that money and he get it, and then later he realizes it's a forged money, and he destroy it, and he says that he will be, according to prophet prayed for those who actually destroy the forged money, because he says prophet will get the prayer of Allah's mercy on those who actually destroy the forged money. The another point that he is making, he says that if the country uses a mixed coins, its use is allowed without knowing the real proportion of gold in it. So this is something that, if it is, we talk about here forged, fake money. But if the money comes with, for example, certain portion of gold, certain portion of silver, there is actually a mixture. There is a, what do you call it? There is a criteria for every money those days. Okay, now we are using paper currencies. Talking about almost 700 years ago. So those days actually they were using the coins, and coins comes with so many different kind of mixture of the metals. Okay, then he continues to talk about the function of money, right? This is what he says, and then okay, it comes also within the same slide. Later I will inshallah read for you the slide. He talks about the functions of money and the theory of exchange. So what surprised me that where exactly Imam al-Ghazali talked about this function of money, he didn't talk about it under this chapter of business. Where he talks? He talks under the chapter of Sabr and Shukr. Kitab al-Sabr and Shukr. This is, we are talking about Ihya Ulumuddin. The book of Ihya of Ulumuddin is actually has many chapters inside. There is one chapter called Kitab al-Sabr and al-Shukr, right? Under this chapter, Imam al-Ghazali talks about the rational and wisdom of having money. Not only rational, he also talks about the problems of barter exchange, and also what exactly the role of money, right? He talks about also the need of the circulation of money as against its hoarding. Uh, and also he also discusses whether the money should be treated as a commodity or it should be only the medium of exchange, right? So according to Imam al-Ghazali, money does not have any value and benefit itself. The money is useful only because the money is a medium of exchange, because it helps you to measure something. That is the only use of money. That's why Imam al-Ghazali is against of what we call the third characteristic of money. The money is actually a medium of exchange. The money is actually money is actually a measurement. Money is actually medium of exchange. Number three, money is a store of value, but according to Imam al-Ghazali, number three is not there. He doesn't accept. He is against of storing of money. That the reason why he against of store of value, because if you give a value to that money, then the money can become commodity. Like today, what's happening? Today, money is a commodity according to conventional banks. That is the reason why money can be rented. That is the reason why they can charge interest. So according to Islamic bank, money is not a commodity, so money cannot be rented out. Therefore, money cannot be used for interest. So we are against the interest-based financial system, right? So this it all comes from the store of value. That's why he is against of it. Another wisdom, according to Imam al-Ghazali, is that money can provide human access to all goods and services, right? But the owner of money has everything. This is another wisdom from Imam al-Ghazali. Of course, we can understand this. But there is also some problems that he discusses. The problem, for example, when it comes to the barter exchange, when it comes to barter exchange, one of the problem was there. Actually, I need something what you have. There is no doubt. That's the reason why I came to your market. I want to buy something. But do you really need something that I have? This is the big question. For example, I need from you a kilo of dates. But in barter exchange, we are talking about, the old days barter exchange. But I need from you 1 kilo of sugar or 1 kilo of dates. But I have only a kilo of cotton. Or maybe I have certain pieces of skins, the leather. So now the question is, the person who is actually giving me the dates or the sugar, does he need my cotton? There is a possibility that he might not need it, because cotton cotton, what we call it, cottons, is actually will keep, will um, because of the the physical, the nature of the cotton, it requires a space to keep that thing. So where he will be keeping it. So that's why barter exchange is not usually done in that way. Barter exchange, there is most of the time, people think that, okay, those days barter exchange means, okay, you give something and you take something. But this is the valid point. The one who gives you something, he doesn't need everything that you have. He might be needing something else. So how do we solve this issue? This is where the birth of currency comes. So before the birth of currencies, how people were doing this barter exchange? Because only later we have these currencies, different nations currencies, international currencies and all. But before that, how do we know that how people were, especially let's say in Arab countries during the Prophet ﷺ period? Let's start from that period. Yeah? From the Prophet ﷺ period, there was a market and people been doing the barter exchange. They go to Sham, Syria, they go to Egypt, they go to many Palestines, many places in Medina. They were the farmers in Mecca, they were the merchants. So how do they do this? There is a very good and simple hadith, prophetic hadith, that actually telling the reality of how it was, how it's been. But most of the time, this hadith is not actually completely understood the way it should be understood. I think most of you, I think, heard this hadith. There is a hadith, Prophet said, "Al-zahabu bil-zahabi, al-fiddatu bil-fiddati, al-sha'iru bil-sha'iri, at-tamaru bil-tamari, al-milh bil-milh." So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually tells that, gold for gold, silver for silver, dates for date, and then salt for salt. You know, in this particular hadith, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually bringing 6 commodities. If you relook the hadith, you will understand that there were so many explanation by the interpreters, the muhaddithin, the interpretation why Prophet ﷺ only mentioned 6 commodities in this particular hadith. There were so many other interpretations. They were saying that, okay, this is just an example. This can apply to everything. For example, Prophet ﷺ didn't talk about sugar, didn't talk about rice, so it can also go there. He didn't talk about, for example, he didn't talk about the fruits. He didn't talk about the the vegetables. So before I give you the answers, let me ask you: are you familiar with this particular hadith? Are you familiar with the hadith that I'm talking? You remember that you learned this hadith in Fiqh 1 and Fiqh 2?
Yes.
There's only one yes. What about others? No. If you don't know better, I show you the hadith. Otherwise, I hope you are you familiar with the hadith? The rest of you, the gold for gold, silver for silver.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, now I'm happy. Many yeses. Yes, day. Okay, so this is the particular explanation was given by the fuqaha. There were so many other interpretations, but this interpretation that given was very good, saying that, why these 6 commodities? Because those days, when someone needs something in the market, let's say you want to buy, let's say you want to buy some vegetables. So you go to the market, you want to buy some tomato. So the seller will ask you, okay, what do you have? Do you have gold? If you don't have gold, do you have silver? Then if you don't have silver, do you have wheat? Do you have barley? Do you have dates? Do you have at least salt? You know, these are the 6 commodities in the market is being used as a currency. These were currencies of those times. Because you see, because these currencies mean why? Because these are the currencies can stay for longer. It won't spoil. The wheat and the barley, even the dates can stay longer than any other fruits. Even if it becomes dry, even the dry dates also still can be sold. Similarly, the salt can stay longer. So that's why Prophet ﷺ mentioned few things. These commodities were considered as currencies of those times. So now, when those currencies were in action, people were able to, nicely go, and then they will buy camels with those currencies. You know, sometimes they give dirhams, sometimes they give dinar, sometimes they give wheat, sometimes even they are ready to give dates, because the dates considered as a as a currency. That's why in another hadith, if you remember, when Bilal was actually serving, this, taking these dates, and then went to the market, and then he actually bought another. He exchanged for a good one. That Prophet said, don't do that directly. Do it as a sale. Use other currencies in between and then convert, because this you cannot simply do the current do the two exchanges, for example, two currencies exchanges. You cannot do it directly, but you need a middleman in between. So let's say, for example, if this is how even today, if you look into US dollars, the value, the current exchange rate, let's say you are doing it, for example, euro versus ringgit, right? Or ringgit versus rupees, for example. The US dollar will come in between and they will fix the price. So this is how even today also we are following it. So the point that I wanted to make, Imam al-Ghazali says, yes, when these currencies came in, it actually helped the barter exchange, because in the barter exchange there was a problem of double coincidence. But here is actually when this money, as a functions of the money, as a unit of value and the medium of exchange, this one has facilitated the exchange, but exchange with justice. Yeah. So that's why he also says, he also brings this philosophy of unit of measurement, philosophy of medium of exchange. He says that it's like objectives of the alphabets. For example, there is alphabet like alif, ba, ta, tha, or A, B, C, D. The purpose of learning alphabet, not to keep it as it is. You learn A, B, C, D, and then you just keep it as it is. It will not convert into any sentence. It's not going to become word by itself unless until you actually convert to something. So the objectives of alphabet is actually to construct the words and sentences, not the alphabets themselves. Similarly, this is the valid point. Money, the purpose of money is not to be hoarded. The purpose of money is not to be kept in the bank. The purpose of money is not to be used as a commodity. The purpose of money, the exchange of money, the objective of the money should be in exchange. It should be exchanged as a unit of value. It should not be hoarded for the sake. That's why he said money cannot be hoarded. But if it has to be hoarded, money has to become one of the commodity. Like, for example, it has to be gold. If it is gold, if it is like ornament, for example, jewelry, it is the different, because when it becomes ornament and jewelry, it's considered as a property. It's a different thing. But when it is actually in the coins, it cannot be hoarded because it has to serve the purpose of unit of value or medium of exchange. See, these are the discussion that I'm telling you. These are the discussions actually happened how many centuries ago? Just imagine. This is what I'm trying to bring. Whatever that today that we are having this, even the first written document in the money. Later, inshallah, the thing will come when we talk about the Ibn Taymiyyah. He also have this topic of characteristic of money, the functions of money. But I'm just giving you this idea that Imam al-Ghazali was able to talk about all this almost 1,000 years ago, because he died is 1111, so now it's 2021, so it's more than 1,000 years. So he was able to talk about all these, analyzed all these functions of money 1,000 years ago, right? So now, right now, that what we are having today, the currencies and everything, the discussions over the currencies is only few centuries old. So this is the point I wanted to make. Also, he clearly says that trade in money for earning interest makes money an end objective, because when someone using money for interest, for riba, it makes money an end objective. But money, it is not an end objective. It has to be useful for exchange. That is the point that he wants to make. However, he doesn't recommend the store of value function of money for the purpose of holding, like I told you earlier, because according to al-Ghazali, store of value, even though it is something that unavoidable function of money, because store of value is 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 somehow already there. Whether it is whether we agree, whether Imam al-Ghazali agree or does disagree, you cannot take the store of value out from the money, right? Today we have this US dollar, we have this we have this forex, what we call it, foreign exchange. The industry is there. They talk about every single currencies against each other. What is the division? What is the differences? The volatile and everything. They talk about it. But it is an undesirable function of money. We could say that. Even in fact, Imam al-Ghazali also agreed. Even though store of money, he does agree, but he says that somehow it is an undesirable function of money. It should be kept in that way, right? So money cannot be considered as an exchangeable commodity. If you start considering exchangeable commodity, then you have to say yes to interest. That's why today the secular banks, according to their argument, they are right. The reason why they are giving you the money, because they are renting the money to you. It's like you are renting your car to someone, like you are renting your apartment to someone. They are renting the money to someone. So what's wrong with that? Because money, according to them, is a commodity. So here, this is where actually we have problems. Why today this problem cannot be solved, and why this interest cannot be abolished. This is a basic issue. How do you decommodify money? Right? So you need to think about it. So anyone here can discuss or give some idea, how do you decommodify money? Is there any thought process? Is there any discussion being made? Or do you want to decommodify the money using the upcoming digital money or crypto money? So what is your thought? Anybody have anything to say? Do you think it is possible? Is it possible that I know people are this is the commodification of money, but is it possible to decommodify the money? What do you think, Aisha? What do you think? Haniza is there? Arshad is there?
I think it's impossible according to these days because nowadays there's a lot of loans and interest rates, so it's kind of I'll say impossible to decommodity the money because it's became a habit nowadays for everyone.
So that's because everybody's dependence, right? Because everybody depending on this. In fact, even it's been used as what they call it, hawala, meaning transferring the debt. Even Islamic banks also doing this, transferring the debt to someone. So debt can be transferred, debt can be sold. So if debt can be sold, in a way, money also considered as a commodity. So we have our own issues. Ourselves, we have our own problems. You see, we are, of course, talking about Islamic finance, Islamic economics, Islamic bankings, but we also have some issues, especially when it comes to money, because we are using the mm, same medium of exchange. Whether it is because we don't have different currencies, we are not using different value system. I mean, monetary values. We are using the same monetary values as secular or conventional banks are using. So this commodification has to come together, right? So now, for example, like um, the transferring debt also considered by Islamic banks. So which means that even though we agree legally, basically, or in the according to the law, we agree that money is not a commodity, right? But there are so many consequences comes in, and then we need to treat money as a commodity, even though we don't rent money. That's because riba comes, and then we because that is our motto, because we said our Islamic finance system is actually riba free system, right? Free based uh, riba free based financial system. So because of that, we cannot allow, or we don't allow, or we don't rent our money. We agree in that, but when it comes to transferring the debt, or when it comes to becoming bank as a mediator, bank becoming mediator, because bank only has the money, and money somehow play the role of commodity somehow. So these are the challenges. Yeah, even though we want to make it perfectly all right, but somehow we are trying to do. It's not that easy, because you have to be in a system, and then you need to go through the system, and then you need to you need to stop certain activities, certain prohibited activities, but you have to be also in the system, right? So that's the challenging part. But don't think that the thing will be all the time, it will be like this. So the changes will come. The changes will come from people like you. That's why we are trying to, because you are free to discuss. You can even write papers. Even last semester, I remember there was a student from this same class. um, he nicely, I also sent his paper for publication. hopefully inshallah it will be accepted. They accepted the paper for conference, alhamdulillah. They are accepted. Now they are trying to publish it in journal. So he started talking about, how a cryptocurrency can play the new role of dirhams and dinar. Can it become new dirhams and new dinar? So this is a kind of so he talks about the monetary analysis, the banking analysis and everything. That's something good. I always enjoy reading that kind of papers. I also encourage to write something like that. So when I read his paper, it is his term paper, by the way. The term paper that you are going to do, he did that, just simple term paper. So he bring this Imam al-Ghazali's idea of, money should be treated as this way. He brings all this according to Imam al-Ghazali. What this is something good actually. So I think it is still open. You can actually try anything like this. You can write anything like this, and you can also become the reason for us to bring the new system, new monetary system, whereby, as what Ghazali says, money should be only used for, you know, only used for the measurement, unit of value, and medium of exchange. This store of value must be undesirable one. All right. So this is something very important that he talks about it. Then he talks about the market and marketings. He says that the functions of marketing is very important, quite necessary. That's because it includes two things. Number one, transportation, and also storage. So these markets and marketing also need a meeting place. No, this is all he talks about, how a market should work and what is the necessity, what is the purpose of having markets, what are the functions of market, how do you force the market to determine some prices. So these are the things he talks about it. And he also says that the necessity of this transportation industry, because this is where actually buyers can go and meet some places, and then the sellers can bring their animal, cattle and everything to some places, and then there will be a meeting point. And this is how exchange of core values, if I have to give you a very good example of what al-Ghazali says, he says farmer carpenter. This he says that there is a farmer, he needs some woods or something, wooden work. Then there is a carpenter who actually make wooden works, and he needs some agricultural product. So now you will see a farmer, he has, of course, he has all the agricultural product, but he really needs some designs from the carpenter. And then the carpenter, he has all the designs, but he needs some agricultural products. So he comes, they meet in the market. This is what the market mechanism works. And I think some of you already remember when I said farmer or carpenter, it's what similarly what Adam Smith said, butcher and baker. If you remember somewhere, butcher baker example, what Adam Smith told in his book, Wealth of Nation. But look at the timeline. Adam Smith only came like 300 years something, but al-Ghazali around 1,000 years, because Adam Smith from 17th century, Imam al-Ghazali from 11th century. So look at the gap. He talks about farmer and carpenter, and then Adam Smith actually bringing the same, and he talks about butcher and baker. So of course this is how knowledge has a reflection, and then it travels through the people, and then it goes and then continue, expands, and then people gets it, and then they start writing. So this is how the connections been made. All right. Okay, so I think okay, the next one, inshallah, we will talk about in the next class. And before that, let me just go through the slide. Market price and profits. Ghazali provide a surprisingly detailed discussion of the role of significance of voluntary trading activities and the emergence of markets based on demand and supply. Okay, you can just read all this. Though Ghazali does not discuss demand and supply in modern terms, numerous passages from his work demonstrate considerable depth in respect. He also talks about the prevailing prices are determined by the market prices. He talks about just price, I think equilibrium price. I think we can, again, inshallah, we will discuss about the just price when it comes to Ibn Taymiyyah. Also, we talk about in Ibn Khaldun, also we're gonna talk about the just price. And then Ghazali is referring to an upward sloping supply curve when he says that if the farmer does not get a buyer for produce, then he sells at a very low price. This is what the demand and supply, he talks about it. He also talks about the concept of price elasticity of demand. Okay, and then Al-Ghazali also discusses prices and profits more or less together without clear reference to cost and revenues. Profits are viewed as a return on risk and uncertainty, as they and business bear a lot of trouble in seeking profits and take risk and endanger lives in voyages. Ghazali is critical in excessive profits. He suggests that if the buyer offers a high price relative to the prevailing price, the seller should not accept, or profit will be excessive. So he talks about the normal price. I think you can read this. He admonishes traders that they should not give false information about weight, quantity, or the price, while unexaggerated informative advertisement is acceptable. He condemns practices such as alteration, deceptive grading, or marketing and control of markets by secret dealings and price manipulations. According to Ghazali, markets are to function freely and must be free from deception. He then enumerates several guidelines concerning the exercise of benevolence in the marketplace, such as leniency in dealing with the poor, flexibility in debt transactions, even foregoing debt repayment from some poor. Okay. See, we have so many topics. The thing is, when it comes to Imam al-Ghazali, we have so many topics to cover. That's why I need one more class to finish. Inshallah, next class we will talk about economics and Islamic values, and then we talk about productions, division of labor. We also have something to talk about in Zakah, and then we will talk about the supervisions. That's very important. Supervisions, Hisbah, also he talks about it. This exchange of money that I talked to you earlier. So I think some of my discussion, the slides are different. Okay, so the exchange in money is here, the riba is here, and then this is the role of state of Islam. Then we talk about public finance, and then poverty, and then finally consumer behavior. Okay, inshallah. Okay, that's all from me. Do you have any questions? Please go ahead.